Welcome to the Pitchin and Sippin podcast, where we talk PR trends and tips over sips and meet a wide range of incredible founders, PR pros, and members of the media. I'm Lexie Smith, a former workaholic VP of PR and marketing turned two-time entrepreneur, founder of the PR Bar Inc., business and PR coach, new mama, and self-proclaimed connoisseur of puns, pizza, and wine. I'm a huge believer that knowledge is power and kindness never goes out of style. Think of this show as a way to uplevel your business and career over happy hour. Now let's get to pitchin' and sippin'. Catharine Montgomery is an experienced communications professional with an education, environment, and social justice background. She founded Better Together after a successful career in various communications agencies and in-house roles. Catharine has focused on supporting social justice efforts throughout her career, utilizing her expertise in media outreach, stakeholder engagement, and community involvement to support marginalized communities. She has also led internal diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts at a global communications agency, holds a Bachelor of Science in PR and Marketing from Auburn University, and an MBA from the University of Maryland's Smith, great last name, School of Business. Okay, so for everyone watching and listening, I connected with Catharine in a group we're both a part of called Dreamers and Doers. We connected for a general networking call, and I loved our conversation so much that I 1000% bombarded her and put her on the spot and asked her to come on this show in real time. So thankfully, she obliged. Catharine, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to host you today.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I would love to be on your show. I couldn't wait.
I'm so
And the
excited.
title, oh my goodness, the
All the
titles.
things. So first and foremost, we always start the show in the same way, and that's tell us where in the world is home base and what do you like to do outside of work when you're not saving the world for fun?
So home base is in DC, but I do have to say that I have Southern roots. Like you mentioned, I went to Auburn University in Alabama. So lived in Alabama, lived in Atlanta, but DC, I love. It's my heart and I don't want to leave. So and oh goodness, outside of work, honestly, I feel like I work all the time. But I did just get back from Nice and it was amazing. It was fantastic. The weather was perfect. April's a great time to go because it's before it gets really crowded with tourists. So I had an amazing time. I went by myself and I stayed at the fanciest hotel and I did all the things and it was just for me and I absolutely loved it. So that's what I love to do.
Heaven.
Yes.
Absolute heaven. Oh my gosh, I'm about to enter a series of travel myself that
Mhm.
looks very different than other seasons of travel in my life. I had the opportunity, this is a squirrel, sorry everyone, but to live abroad in college, and I've done a lot of travel in my life, but I'm about to take, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back-to-back trips with a 1-year-old,
Oh
and
goodness.
that's it. So I'm just imagining being alone in Nice. Like, that is so far from my reality right now.
Where are you going? Are you staying in the States? Or are you going abroad?
States with the upcoming 5: Nashville, Hawaii, Palm Springs, Oregon. But then we're crazy people, and I'm going to Japan in October for a college roommate's wedding. And yes, we are taking our what will be then 1.5-year-old.
That's amazing. That sounds fantastic. I love it. Japan is in my top 3 list of places I need to get to.
I'm really excited. It was unexpected. She was supposed to be married stateside, and she's actually from Japan. Anyways, I digress. Somehow on this show, I always end up talking for 5 minutes about travel. So I feel like at some point we should
I
have
think
a
we're just
separate
all like
segment.
eager to get out and explore the world, that we've been stuck in
Seriously.
our little worlds and it's time to get out now.
Okay, so outside of travel, one thing that we talked about a lot on our call was your agency, and we'll get there and we're going to spend a lot
Mhm.
of time there. But first, I'd love to hear, well, I know it a little bit, but share with everyone a bit about your background. Give us some of the Cliff Notes versions of your career.
Of course, yeah. So it's like I knew at the very beginning that I wanted to be in PR. I don't even know that I knew exactly what PR was or what it meant. but I like the uncertainty of it and the spontaneity of it, and how each day you might have something planned, but you never know what's going to come up. And how you have to multitask and think about all different things and learn about all different industries. And I absolutely gravitated toward it. I knew when I went to school, went to college and undergrad, I knew I wanted to major in that. And then as soon as I graduated, I moved to Atlanta and I started working at Edelman, which is one of the larger PR agencies. And like, I loved it. Like I would work extra just so I could be in the office. And back when we had fax machines and had to fax pitches to reporters, I'm
God.
really dating myself. But yeah, I absolutely just loved it. So that's how my career started. And then I just kept hopping from agency to agency, kind of what we kind of do. And as a practitioner with agency, so I went to Porter Novelli and then Burson Marsteller. And I was like, I wonder what life would be like not at an agency. So I started working with the Cruise Line Association, which was very interesting. I did crisis communications for the cruise industry. And there are a lot of crises that happen in cruise industry, if you can imagine, with
I can
people falling
imagine, yeah.
off boats. I remember one time there was a there was a mass shooting somewhere abroad, and so there was a ship that was docked there, and so we had to consider all of the people on the boat, all the people vacationing, making sure they were okay. So you really never know what type of crisis will happen. And I got to travel all over the world and just really learn about an industry that I had no idea about, and kind of the climate ramifications too of the cruise industry. And I still gravitated back toward the agency world. I loved the travel. I love the different industry of the cruise industry, but I really wanted to get back to the agency life. And so I started thinking about which agency I would like to go back to. And I started to think that I really want to use my skills to help other people. So I considered, how can I use communications and help the world? And I found a startup in Boston where it was focused on helping unions and helping other progressive causes. And so I packed up from DC, I moved to Boston and I started working at a startup. I think I was the 15th employee, and completely different than the other agencies I worked at, but we were doing impactful work. And every day it felt good to go to work. It felt like we were actually making a difference.
Okay, so wow to all of that. How did we get from there to today?
Oh,
And
goodness.
just to give everyone a bit of context, she has an agency called Better Together, and it has one of the most unique inception stories that I feel like I've heard from an agency perspective. So share all the things.
Yeah, yeah, getting a bit personal, I have to say that, the agency I was at before launching Better Together, again, we were doing great work, but it ended up not being the place for me. There were issues, I'll say, internally with, racism and other actions that were taking place. And at a certain point, you're helping other people, but you also have to help yourself, and you have to make sure you're in an environment where you can grow and um, don't feel like you're being somewhat hypocritical in that you're helping other people outside of the agency, but you also need to be doing the same internally. So it was time for me to go, and fortunately, I was in a place where I could really figure out what I wanted to do next. So I was just kind of chilling. I had moved back to DC last year and I was on a Slack channel called Ladies Get Paid. And I would definitely join it's free, so feel free to join. But someone had posted, a recruiter actually posted that a venture capital firm was looking to expand into the US, and they only back PR agencies, which I had never even heard of, didn't know that was a
No.
thing. And I was like, well, this could be really sketchy or it could be really cool, but I'm just, hanging out, so might as well try it. I'm a bit adventurous. And so I sent them a message saying I would love to chat. The next day, I believe I had a meeting with the recruiter. We really hit it off. It was like we were instant best friends. It was great. The next day, she put me in contact with one of the investors. We had actually worked with some of the same people at an agency previously, Porter Novelli. So it's like we knew some of the same contacts. And Um, you might be wondering, like, okay, so you just knew all of a sudden, like, what kind of agency you wanted, and you could talk to these investors just like the next day. And kind of taking a step back in 2019, I started this Google Doc. It had my initials and it was called All the Things. I think you said All the Things a few minutes ago, and it's just in all caps. And I would just, whenever I thought of messaging for an agency I might want, or a title or a potential client, I would just put it in this random document. I didn't know why I would need it or if I would need it. It was just a place to house like all the things that I might need for an agency. So it's like in my mind, I knew that I wanted to build an agency, if I ever did, that was based on social impact, that was based on using communications to build equity, to build equality in the world, and just make the world a better place. So it's like I was able to, off the cuff, but in a planning way, tell the investor like what I was looking to do. And we hit it off as well. And then a couple days later, I met with the other investor who lives in Germany. And there were some harder questions like, how are you going to make money? So I was like, I don't really know, but we'll figure it out. And I met them in person when they were in DC for a conference, and wrote a business plan, presented it to them. The investor from Germany was like, "Oh, this is what you call in the US Shark Tank, right?" So it's already making me a little like more nervous. But we were able to work it out. And, that was in October of last year. I left the other agency in September, met them in October. We kind of kept talking and laying out plans in November. And then in December, I started working with a designer on my website and branding. And I officially started working with the investors, according to paperwork on January 1 of this year. And I launched January 25th. And I just have to, going back to last year, besides Q4, I'll say like October, November, December, it was the worst year of my life. I was going through things I wouldn't have even imagined. It was the toughest time ever. And I didn't really know if I would come out of it. But I love that I was open to the possibility of something different and didn't feel like I had to have my life go in a certain direction. And I was open um, to something new, something different, something I didn't even know was possible. It wasn't like I was holding myself back. I had no idea there was a venture capital firm that, only invest in PR agencies. Yeah, if I had to say to anyone, it's just continuing being open to the possibilities of life and what could happen.
And thank you for sharing that. I think from an outside perspective, you can hear, oh, she just happened to find a venture capital firm, and oh, she just happened to launch a PR firm. Isn't she so lucky? But to hear that, no, things weren't all glossy on the front end, I think is a message that we need to speak up and speak about more, because it's not all surface level stuff that we hear, right? It's not the Cliff Notes version all the time. So
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you for sharing that. I do think it's really important. And now you're not even at your what, 3 month mark of January,
Yeah, it's been two and a
March?
half months, and
Wow.
and it's been a whirlwind. I will say that I work constantly, but I love it. Obviously, it's my baby. It's like, everything to me. I love it. I love that we're helping people as we're doing it. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of
Yes.
work.
And
Yeah.
so you're in the infancy of launching a firm, which is such a exciting, nerve-wracking, all the things. We'll just call this episode all the
Yep.
things,
All the
right?
things.
All
Love
the
it.
things. And I want to talk and lean into that perspective a little bit more since you're in it. What so far has been the most challenging part of launching your own agency?
Yeah, there are lots. I have to say, um, hiring and knowing, one, like when you can hire, like financially, and then also the right person. I've already had to let go of my first employee. So it was like 30 days in. And what I've learned since then from a lot of people who have started their own companies or been in positions of hiring and firing is to hire slow, fire fast. And so I'm so glad that I held up to my inclination to fire, but now I know, like, okay, I think I was in the moment in January before I launched, like I was excited. It was like, oh, I get to hire someone. This is great. And so I think that blindsided me or limited me on what I should have been looking for when I was hiring. So I feel like that was a real big step back, but I've, been able to recover. But it just takes like nobody's going to be as dedicated to your business as I am, and so um I have to know that, and I can't have to limit my expectations sometimes. Like people need a life. And I can't expect them to work 24/7 like I do. And so that's a learning opportunity for me. And it's also yeah, just something I have to keep in mind day in, day out. And I'm really glad that I am learning that right now. And I'm glad that I have also investors to kind of guide me through those situations as well.
Do you know that I send out a community newsletter roundup every Tuesday, chock full of resources, free media kit downloads, event invites, journalist contacts, visibility opportunities. Basically, if you're not on the list, hit pause and sign up. It's super simple. Go to theprbarinc.com/newsworthy. That link is in the show notes. Okay, back to the show. So I have to get on a little bit of a soapbox on this topic because I do think that there are a lot of necessary and healthy conversations out there that talk about the importance of company culture from the employee side. The thing that I don't think is talked about enough is the employer perspective from small business. And I will say that it's very different than me saying we should hear what Amazon's executive team has to say. But there's this conversation that of how the company needs to create such a great space for the employee, which I agree with 100%. But
Yeah.
what I have learned in my own journey is how much more goes into the employer side than maybe you initially realize. And I think it's helpful for those listening to hear some considerations to think about. One thing you just highlighted is how do you know when you can financially afford to hire someone? And what I didn't know, maybe everyone else knows this, but is how many extra fees there are. For example, if you set someone's salary, you don't just pay the salary. There's then payroll tax, and then if they don't live in your state, there's those taxes, and then there's a lot of things that pile up. So, anyways, I'll step off my soapbox and just
Yeah.
wanted to say and bring that up that it's a big challenge. So if you are looking, listeners, into to launching, uh, just be prepared that, well, I guess what piece of advice, the hire slow and fire fast is fantastic advice. Is there anything else on that theme that comes to mind if you could redo it over or step on your own little soapbox for that topic?
Yeah, I think relying on your network I found that so important. I mean, we met each other through Dreamers and Doers. I think, I'm a member of the Upside and Chief and have just met such wonderful women who, as they get to know me, they know who I might work best with and who might be a good team member for me. So I think building your network, not necessarily so you can get new business or things like that, but just so
Mhm.
people learn who you are and how you work. And so that in the future, when you need something like a new employee, they're like, I know this person who I think would be perfect and just kind of fits in with what you're trying to achieve. So I think that that's really important. And I think also being patient, and I'm not a patient person at all. I want things right now. And so being patient, going through the steps of, okay, a writing test. Okay, I'm like, let's make sure that this isn't just lip service and that you really understand that this is a startup and there are two people and that we're gonna have to hustle. And it's just, we're gonna have to do all the things. And there's no, I'm at this level, so I can't schedule a meeting. This is like we all do everything from top to bottom strategy to all the tactics. And so just being really upfront and honest about what to expect and going through those just basic steps of making sure that it's the right person. It's just so important. I honestly ended up doing all the work myself. Like, it was like I didn't have an employee. Um,
Yeah.
so that was very unfortunate, and I could have been focusing on a lot more, if I had had a true partner.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And on the other perspective, a piece of career advice I give to people in college when they're trying to figure out where in the PR world to go, I think
Mhm.
starting with a small agency gives you a really great crash course on all things of PR to that point because you're going to be doing everything. So if you show up, you can quickly learn what you like and what you don't like. And is this the industry for you?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, you could be pitching business, like, one day, you could be writing a letter to the editor or something, the next day. So you really never know, but I love that. I mean, that is true PR. That is truly getting in the trenches and figuring out how best to service your clients and making sure that you're providing not only the best strategy, but that the tactics that you're implementing are truly making a difference and truly helping them achieve their goals. Like, that is exciting. That's why I got into PR because there's so many different elements to it.
And you're clearly an entrepreneur, so you're meant to do that part as well. And
Yes.
so better together, the other thing I want to talk a little bit more about your agency specifically. Share with everyone who you serve and the services that you offer.
Sure. Yeah. So, what I think makes Better Together unique from other agencies is that we only work with organizations, whether for profit or non for profit, that are out to help the world. So, whether they are trying to, help the LGBTQ community or dismantle stigmas around disabilities or social justice or decriminalization of drugs, like, whatever topic it is, however they're trying to help other people, we want to be there and use communications to communicate and reach other people and their audiences to really convey, this is why you need to support this, or this is why we need to change this bill, or whatever it is, just kind of making the world a better place. And so we are a full service agency. So anything from videography, photography, to strategy, to writing, crisis communications, we can do it. So ideally, I would have work with a lot of different campaigns, like not just political campaigns, but say, organizations trying to unionize, or they're trying to just do a full service, full blown campaign on a certain topic. We could help that organization from every aspect, not only the strategy part, but really the tactical elements that go into it as well.
So, big billion-dollar question for a lot of people. How did you land your first paying client?
Oh, that network, I have to say, building those relationships, and it took time. Again, I'm not patient. And I have every day so many meetings with so many people, and I don't go into those thinking, okay, let me sell them on this, this, and this. I try to build relationships, and I know that just because I meet someone today and there's no connection there for a business prospect, like, there's some other way that either I can help them or they can help me. Or honestly, I've had meetings that I had in December and January, and now people are coming back like, oh, now's the time. And honestly, like, when I had those initial meetings, I wasn't thinking like, okay, well, I need to write this down, that I need to follow up with them because I need to get business from them. It's honestly just, who can I learn from? What can I learn from them? How can I use that for other potential clients I have? So I used my network, I built relationships, and I started small. I started with those clients who they just trusted me. I had one client, I met her in the morning. By that evening, she had signed a contract. And it's not the largest contract, but it's good work. It's helping communities across the country. She's passionate about what she's doing, and which kind of gets to me too. It makes me passionate about what she's doing. So it's those smaller accounts that have allowed Better Together to grow into what it is 2.5 months in,
Two and a
and
half
I have to
months.
say it's pretty effing amazing.
No
I
kidding.
mean,
You're like, it took a while. I'm like, it's been 2.5 months.
it is pretty remarkable how you go from, nothing to something, and it can happen like overnight. And you just, I remember that one of the largest accounts we have, like I called the CFO and I was like, oh my gosh, we did it. Just so excited. And now comes the hard work, like, doing the work. But I have to say, building relationships and being patient, it takes time and it takes authenticity, and to really be passionate about what you're doing, and not just out to get the money, but out to make change.
Well, the reason we can say on the surface level it happened overnight, but no, it didn't for you. You've been cultivating relationships for so long, and that I think is something people need to realize in my coaching hat when I put that on. Everyone's looking for quick success when the reality is it might appear to happen overnight, but really there's been a whole career that you've been logging and gaining experience in and working relationships so that in this moment you could then tap it to accelerate the inception. So it's you're amazing. I just want you to feel like I know
Well,
not
thank you.
everyone does it this quick.
I have learned so much from so many people, and I have to say, not all good things, but I know what not to do.
Yeah.
I have been in so many situations where I'm like, yeah, don't do that. Like, do not create that kind of culture at your company. Don't do this. Don't meet with them. Like, just, I've learned so many things along the way that have, in the moment, they seemed awful. But now I'm so glad that I went through those so that I can build an agency that's built on something I'm going to be proud of for years to come.
In the topic of pricing real quick, this is one more conversation I want to have before we wrap up today, especially considering the demographic that you serve. I don't want to assume makes an ass out of you and me. But in my experience, what I can speak to is sometimes the people we want to help the most don't necessarily have a budget that can support an agency, especially when you're building a team. Now all of a sudden you are not just responsible for your own livelihood, you have other people counting on you. So candidly, how have you have you experienced this? And then B, if you have, how have you navigated that?
Yeah, no, I definitely experienced it. I have said to my investors, I've said there's so many Black women who need my support, who I want to help, and they're doing such impactful work. And how can you not, help? So what I've done is I've embraced that and I have taken them on. And maybe it's not the most liked thing by, financially, but every bit of it helps. It helps in different ways, whether it's building those relationships, or being able to prove the work that we can do for some of those larger companies. But what I've also found is that the larger accounts will come. They will come, and um, it doesn't have to be the largest companies in the world of Fortune 100, 500. There are so many organizations in this world that are doing amazing work, and they have funds, they have the money, and it's just really being able to, again, build those relationships so that they find out who I am, and that they can see the work that we're doing. So I'm able to use these accounts where we're so passionate about doing the work, and the women and the men are doing extraordinary things, and we're able to support them doing that. And then people will see that we're doing that, and they'll want to jump on board. I got a call from the Better Business Bureau the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Like, are you gonna like close me down? And you're like, oh no, we're getting calls like from different companies who are looking to work with you. They just want to, check in and make sure that, you're legit. And I was like, well, that is so amazing. Like, who in the world is calling you about me? But word gets around. And I think you just have to be persistent. And again, that passion comes through, and that again, authenticity comes through, and people can see it and they want to gravitate toward it. And so it's okay to start small. And but don't limit yourself. Like, don't limit yourself to small. Know that you deserve to do whatever is down on your path, like whether that's sticking with smaller accounts or going large, like whatever it is, like you do you, but know that you deserve it, and you have to work hard to do it.
And it's so clear that your heart is in the right place, and this isn't the motivating factor, but something I'm hearing and I totally agree with. It's good business to be a good person.
Yeah. Isn't
Right?
that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about the long game and in the short game, just be a good freaking human, people. It's also going to be good for your business.
Yes, yes, it can be hard. I mean, it seems
Yeah.
like it's a what is it? Like, wait, man eat man, or it's some kind of world where like everybody's
Oh, yeah.
against each other. But if we just support each other, I have had so many people refer me to somebody, to something, to, they take time out of their day to introduce me to others. And it's just been so helpful. And I want to give that back. And I just truly appreciate everyone who's come in my life and who is yet to come in my life, who's supporting me and believes in me. But yes, being a good person, who knew? It can
New
change the
and
world.
ready for this? It sounds like we're better together.
Ah, it works every time, every
Every
time.
time, every time. Okay, so one more critical question I have to ask you is, we didn't really talk pitching, we talked about other important things, but what can we find you sipping? What is your favorite beverage, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, of course?
Oh, let's see. So I love red wine. I love like the drier the better. Like just no sweet wine, but the dry red wine. And then I also love polar ice sparkling water. The grapefruit flavor is really good. You can buy
What
it
did
at
you say,
Costco.
polar ice?
Yeah, it's like a polar brand is the
Huh,
name of it. But yeah, you can get it at Costco in really big containers so that you won't run out, and it's always there. And but
wait,
you
is
do
that
have to drink it up.
the tall skinny bottle?
I think that's just ice,
Oh,
but these are cans. Yeah,
got it. Okay,
actually,
I wonder if that's an
actually,
East Coast versus West Coast thing. I've
actually,
never seen that.
can you see it?
Yeah,
Polar,
but
yeah.
I've never seen that. I'm have you seen that? I'm curious. Kaylee's one of my favorites. Just kidding, it's just me. Where have I been? Living under a rock, I would say. I didn't know that. And then, okay, dry red wine, do you have a varietal that you prefer?
Cabernet, I
Okay,
will say.
Cabernet.
Yeah, and if I had to choose
Bold.
a place, the wine in Nice was good, but, I've had better, probably like South America or, actually Portugal has good red wine too, which is, interesting. Yeah.
I have heard that, and Portugal was where I was gonna be going this upcoming fall before I got invited to a wedding in Tokyo. Wow, poor me, poor life that I right? Oh my god, privileged. Yes, all the good wine. I learned about a new sparkling beverage. Congratulations,
Thank
sincerely,
you
on all
so
that you
much.
achieved. It's literally you are just getting started and you already are disrupting, that's such an overused buzzword, changing, making waves in the industry. So it's going to be really, really exciting to see your journey.
Yes, yes.
Last question, where can people go to find more about Better Together Agency?
Yes, so our website is thebettertogether.agency, so you can definitely go there. Also, we're on LinkedIn, so just look us up there too.
Perfect. Okay, guys, until next time on the Pitchin' and Sippin' podcast. Cheers. Hey guys, if you are enjoying the Pitchin' and Sippin' podcast, please do me a huge favor and leave a review wherever you are listening. If you want to connect with me to learn more about the PR Bar Inc., you can do so on Instagram at @thePRBar_Inc., or you can check out my website at theprbarinc.com. Cheers!